Hello, I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of ESS BIZTOOLS. I'm privileged to bring to you the podcast on the ESS BIZTOOLS Accountant's Minute, edition 388, which looks at the types of services that are supplied in the advisory intro product package that you could deliver to your clients. Now, from the outset, I'll say this, that the advisory intro product package was primarily developed for bookkeepers and accountants who had not really ventured into advisory services previously. If you're a firm that has been offering advisory services of some description, maybe earning 5% of your fees from advisory services, you might be interested in going to our starter package, which has got more components. But the advisory intro package has really been prepared to enable you as the accountant or bookkeeper to answer a question that you might get from a client. And the question might be, I hear one of my competitors has got a research and development grant. How did he get that? What have we got to do to get one for my business? That might be the opening comment. Now, within the advisory intro package, if you were asked that question, you can immediately click onto your screen, bring up the package and click on research and development. And we've got a research and development introduction package, which gives you the key information that you need to answer that question. You would say to him, oh, Bill, you're currently operating as a sole trader. If you want to access the research and development tax offset, you have to be a company. And the expenditure that you've already made on getting your product prepared doesn't count for the extra amount of the rebate. You've got to have the company and the expenditure's got to be incurred by the company. And there's other things. You must spend more than $20,000 on legitimate research and development activities in the financial year to be able to claim the research and development benefit. And for the main small business benefit, the turnover has to be less than $20 million by a company. There are forms, there are processes, and I'm quite happy to give you an overview of those, and you can tell me what you want to do. Now, your client might say, well, that's great, thank you. No, I'm not going to form a company. That's the end of it. Well, they may say, yeah, I'd like to have a look at that article. So we also have a flow chart that you could show to the client if they're sitting there in front of you, because it's on your screen, which explains the first stage of the R&D process. It starts with an idea, and we move through until we get to your client's company's board of directors giving their approval for a research and development project. What a lot of people don't understand is there's no formal application process for research and development. That doesn't go in until potentially 10 months after the end of the financial year is when the returns are lodged. Now, I'd suggest you lodge them a little bit earlier than 10 months because a lot of people do it at the end and it delays everything, because the first return has to get lodged with Oz Industry, who are the government's experts at checking on research and development type activities. And they've been doing it for years. So they go through and decide whether it looks like a legitimate research and development project. And if they're happy, they will issue a reference number, which they send back to whoever sent them the return. And then that number can be shown in the company's income tax return. So all of that expenditure has to have been claimed in the income tax return. And then whatever the benefit is, the company can claim it. So that's a very brief overview that you might give to your client. And if your client says, oh, I've been interested in all this, we say, I can send you a paper. We have a paper on the introduction to research and development, which gives you a more in-depth overview. You want me to send it to you? Then send it. And then follow the client up to see what they think. Are they interested? Because a very casual research and development inquiry could grow into quite a major innovative business activity for a client, especially if their idea was a good idea. And people do think of good ideas. And some of them seem to be fairly obvious, but no one else thought of them. But let's go back to the beginning, why I really wanted to talk to you today. Pardon me, I to pick up a bit of a cold. Why I wanted to talk to you today. And that is, it's now 2.5 years since the then Tax Commissioner, Chris Jordan, issued his warning to accountants and bookkeepers at Xerocon 2022. Mr. Jordan said, if your business model is high volume, low margin, focused on income tax returns, simple ones, it will not be viable in 3 to 5 years' time. Now, he said this 2.5 years ago. So I think your timelines now are 6 months to 2 to 2.5 years. He urged accountants and bookkeepers to redevelop what you were offering and to become the trusted advisor to your clients. So have you thought about it? Did you know that Mr. Jordan had made those comments? We can send you articles which we've written on them that quote him. And I had some of our subscribers who were actually in the audience when he made those comments. Chris Jordan is a former partner of KPMG. He was headhunted by the tax office, I understand, 10 years ago to head up the tax office. So he understands accountancy firms, even though he was in a Big Four firm. He's got some understanding of how the accountancy profession operates. And he's saying to all of us, there's going to be changes because the tax office have changed their computer systems, their software. And these days, of course, there's far more communication available. So let's look at the scene that exists at present. There's challenges everywhere, isn't there, for SMEs and also for you and me, because we're all running small businesses. So it's not just the accounting industry that has problems. Those problems could also come back to bite us. And I think one way you can prevent getting bitten by problems is to move with the times, to broaden your range of services. And you don't have to go out and spend hundreds of hours developing the material. We've done that for you, and it's available at a very reasonable premium. I think you should be able to generate attractive earnings from utilizing our system. And I know some people do. A lot of people do. So the economic pressure that our SME clients are under, interest rates are high, inflation's high, and business failures are also high. And last weekend, we had comments by one of Australia's premier business operators, Jerry Harvey, chairman of Harvey Norman. Been in business for 60 years. Started off with Mr. Norman selling vacuum cleaners door to door. And today he's a billionaire. 85-year-old, still working and enjoys life. You've only got to see him in TV shots of him at the races to understand he enjoys life. But he's very concerned in those articles that were published in the News Limited newspapers. He's concerned that Australia is entering a 5-year deterioration, and in 5 years' time, it's going to be very difficult. He blames the federal government for paying too much money out in the system, and a lot of it is going to the bureaucracy, new people working in the bureaucracy. He claims he's seen no justification for this massive hiring of people, and that money would have been far better trying to encourage SMEs to do things. Because it's the SME and the larger business community that earn the wealth in Australia, not the government. All the government is doing is recycling the taxation money that they receive, primarily from businesses. So what Jerry Harvey had to say was a bit of a wake-up call, I think, to say here's one of Australia's most successful and surviving business person. I've known a Jerry Harvey all my life. I wish I could have met him, but I've never met him. But I think he's got a good point. Now, I hope he's wrong, but unfortunately, I suspect he might be right. If the country continues to go the way it's going. There's been some reports released by the Australian Small Business and Family Business Ombudsman, Mr. Bilson, who's the former Minister for Small Business in the last Liberal National Party government. So that man knows small business. And he was appointed to this position by Mr. Albanese. So that was an interesting appointment, I thought, at the time. He's put out a report which is indicating there's been declining contributions by the SME community. Now generates 33% of GDP, down from 40% in 2006, and employ 42% of the private sector workforce, and that was 53% in 2006. So our collective share of what's going on has dropped. Does that mean a lot more people are not going into business? They're going to work for government or semi-government organisations, federal, state, territory, local councils? I suspect some of them are. And then there was the comments made by the CEO of MYOB in an article in the Financial Review in February, which was headed dead set nightmare, why small business failures are soaring. Paul Robson indicated that he fears small business may not enjoy the soft landing tipped for the rest of the economy. He wrote this in February. I don't think there's any soft landing getting tipped at present. I think Jerry Harvey's right, at least for the first couple of the next years. And it might get back to whether there is a change of government, but we're not here to discuss politics. We're here trying to give you an indication of how we can help you if you are wanting to supply a broader range of services to your SME clients to help them on this journey. Mr. Robson indicated that a large number of small businesses go out of business in their first 6 months, not because their idea was a bad one, but because their fiscal management skills were poor. That came from spending too much on the initial capital, not having knowledge that they needed to segregate the GST and tax from employees' wages into a separate bank account to make payments, not fully understanding payment arrangements with suppliers, assuming that everyone would automatically grant them a 30-day account, and then finding out to their big worry that some of the key suppliers wanted cash with order or cash on delivery. Now, that type of arrangement runs havoc with your cash flow position. So I really wonder who helped them prepare the cash flow forecast. And I hope it wasn't an accountant or a bookkeeper. But they should have been talking to an accountant or bookkeeper who said to them, what negotiations have you made with these suppliers? And I think you should insist that they have made negotiations, that they have contacted them, they've confirmed them in writing, not just confirmed that, oh, everyone gets 30 days. That's not right. And then we turn to the other big issue that Mr. Robson raised, and that's credit being granted to customers. Our SME clients need to realise they do not have to give credit to anyone that asks for it. Now, admittedly, they mightn't make the sale if they don't give the credit facilities, but it's up to them. And if they're going to offer credit facilities, they need to have a proper system in place. And my observation over the years when I go in and do consulting work at various businesses is a lot of them have not got a proper debtors system. So we spent a fair bit of time in ESS BIZTOOLS some years ago developing a good debtors system that an SME business can operate. You don't need any fancy computer system. You just need the processes. And the processes are that there's a credit application form, and that the system in the business is you must get the person to fill that in if they want a credit account. And there then needs to be follow-up, checking the referees. Or is your client just going to inherit someone else's problem? Making sure there's a system on debtor statements. A lot of businesses are not sending debtor statements anymore, but they need to clearly identify that to their new customer. And make sure the due date for payment is shown on the tax invoice. And then have someone in the office ring that customer 4 or 5 days before the due date for that tax invoice and say, hi, just giving you a reminder that your payment for $1,872 is due in 4 days' time. Most people say, oh, thanks for reminding me, even though they might say, geez, I didn't think they'd follow it up. But this is the way your clients need to operate, I think, in today's economy if they're going to get the money. The squeaky door gets the oil. It's an old saying. And perhaps your clients aren't sending debtor statements. Make sure it's known. But if they are, make sure the debtor statements go out within 24 hours of the end of the month. Because if they're 2 to 3 weeks later, they tend to get put into the next month's payments. And if they're dealing with major corporations who may have mining operations at various parts of Queensland, in the Hunter Valley or northern New South Wales or wherever, a lot of those payment vouchers all have to get sent to their head offices, which tend to be in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. So if your client's supposed to attach a weighbridge certificate or a health certificate or some other documentation, because that's what the customer said, and the invoice just turns up with no attached documentation that that particular customer has said, this is what we want, well, you know what happens? That invoice just sits at the bottom of the pile. And invariably, the only way it gets sorted out, from my observation, is that the customer's made a phone call to say, why wasn't I paid? I said, well, you said what we need. We need a weighbridge certificate. We need a health certificate. We need whatever else they'd already specified. And also, make sure your clients are abiding by getting these invoices out promptly, or the statements out promptly if they're issuing statements. Because a lot of these big companies are saying, you must have all the documentation to us within 7, 8, 9 days at the end of the month if we're going to process it in that month's batch. If not, to the next month. And then if there's a query, it'll go into the following month. So no wonder we end up with situations like 102 days. And we need to remind our clients, especially new clients, new people starting businesses, that Australia won a very dubious international award a few years ago. An international think tank based in London awarded Australia the award for having the longest debtors' days outstanding in the world. 120 odd countries got analysed. All the leading countries that we compare ourselves to. And we had the longest debtors' days outstanding. Mr. Morrison was the Prime Minister when that occurred, and he immediately ordered federal government agencies to improve their payments, because the then Australian Small Business and Family Business Ombudsman, Kate Carnell, produced some information that said, well, one of the big problems is government departments. But it wasn't only the federal departments, it was also state governments. And it had a degree of urgency for a while, but things move on, don't they? And then the government changed. Mr. Albanese then had his government introduce some legislation that was originally introduced, and then it was updated again in July this year, which means that any major corporation, and I think it's turnover over $100 million, who is slow in making payments, don't make to SMEs, don't make the payments in 30 days, could be named and shamed. Now, whether that's going to worry some of the big players, I don't know. But at least there's been some movement to get big business and government departments to make payments. because I don't think the debtors' days outstanding has decreased much at all from what it was when we received that very dubious international award. So where do you fit in all this? You're a bookkeeper, an accountant, or a business advisor giving advice to your SME clients. How are you going to transform the information? Our suggestion is that you have a good look at our advisory intro product package, because we're tailored that to give you the information to give advice to your client. And in the material that the Accountant's Minute's based on, that you can get hold of a copy of it if you like, just send us an email. You can see that the Small Business Ombudsman, Bruce Bilson, has outlined a whole range of information. And I think you should be subscribing, it's free, to the Ombudsman's reports. They come out about every quarter, and pass it on to your clients, so they realise there is someone in there batting for the small business community, and it's free. They receive government funding. I'm not sure how much, but I understand there's about 20 people work for the Ombudsman's office, which I think is in Sydney, but I'm not sure. Might be in Canberra. So the material we've got for you will enable you to talk to your clients about these financial, commercial matters. You've got access to material which will talk about the Export Market Development Grant. Incidentally, it's open at present. It opened on the 10th of June. And it will close as soon as Austrade, the government department in charge of exporting, has issued agreements for all the money that they've got allocated by the government. The government will not give them any further top-ups. So the quicker your client gets their application together, the better. In the material contained within the advisory intro package, we have information to explain to you how that system works, what can be claimed. And at this application, it is for 2 years periods. It's for 25, 26 and 26, 27. They've doubled up to try to speed up the administrative process and to give some certainty to people. So you need to get your client to identify what export marketing activities they may be going to undertake. If they're a business that's new to exporting, they can claim as part of the expenditure undertaking an export market course, so they understand more of what they're doing. So that's the overview of what can be done. And you can follow through. Now, we've got a great offer for you at present. We've been running Black Friday, and we've now decided to run Christmas, because it's different, isn't it? We get out of black shirts and all that, and we go into something more flowery and Christmassy. So our offer is going to continue through to Monday, the 23rd of December. But I would appreciate it if you could accept and connect just a bit before that, because we're definitely going to be shut from the 24th of December at some stage in the day. We'll process what comes in on the 23rd, and we won't be here that following week. And I doubt if you will be either. But we will make sure you've got connection, so you can go onto the site, and if you want to spend the Christmas New Year period going through and having a look at what you've got, that's great. You'll have access. So to get that access, it's only going to cost you $495, including GST, for access to the advisory intro package. That's a 50% discount. I've been confidently assured by a couple of experts who deal with bookkeepers and accountants in this market that that pricing will be attractive. I hope it is. I can't lower it any further, I'm afraid. This is a great opportunity for you to get started on offering advisory services. surely you can recover $450, because the other 45 is GST, from some services to 1, 2, or 3 clients. But I suspect you might have 20 or 30 clients that you could get work from by utilizing our product package. That's the challenge. Now, if you say to yourself, well, I don't know who this Peter Towers is, I don't know who ESS BIZTOOLS is, we'll offer you a 3-month program, and that will cost you $143, including GST. And you get all the benefits in that period. You also get the training, because in that period there probably be 2 training sessions of 45 minutes to 60 minutes for the advisory intro package. You can go to those. You'll get the newsletter we produce each month, Business Plus, which you can badge and send to your clients. And you'll receive our monthly special newsletter to our subscribers, Members Alert, where we bring other issues to your attention. You'll get our weekly grant update, which advises what changes have occurred in Australian, state and territory grants. You get all that for 3 months for $143. And at the end of the 3 months, we hope that you then decide, yes, you'd like to get this for the 9 months to take you through for the full 12 months. And we will offer that 9-month pricing based on the $495 for 12 months. I haven't got the figures in front of me, but you can work them out. But we will give you the benefit of the 50% discount right through, because we are keen to get this package out into the marketplace, to get people using it, to help the SME community. That's why we're calling it BizAid by ESS BIZTOOLS. SMEs really need assistance. They need more information than just tax returns. Tax returns are not helping them to run their businesses. But I believe, in fact, I know that this process, because we've been supplying this product package for 25 years. We had a celebration recently with our longest continual subscriber, Mr. Sam Salkman from Melbourne. 25 years he has subscribed to us, and he's still very enthusiastic about our products. And we will be releasing the podcast with him talking to Andrew Geddes, one of the founders of Financial Management Research Centre and a great Australian accountant icon, and myself. That'll be getting released next week. So listen to that and listen to Sam Salkman talk about the ESS BIZTOOLS system, but also talk about where's accountancy headed. He's worried that we're not concentrating enough on what we've been talking to you about in this little chat. That accountants are there to offer a whole range of services other than just taxation. I think what the software, the computers, and the communications facilities now allow is that accountants and bookkeepers really situated anywhere in Australia can support a client and give them this 52-week of the year business enhancement system so to improve their services. So the next step is really up to you. You've heard the dim bad news. Chris Jordan has said accountants and bookkeepers need to change. He was quite blunt, and as I read it, very unequivocal. That is the position. The tax office are changing their systems. So if you want to continue to have clientele, you need to be broadening the services you're supplying to them. Subsequent to that, we've had the reports from Bruce Bilson, the Ombudsman, that things are tightening up for SMEs. But we know that, don't we? Just read the newspapers and listen to what's going on in the community. Then we've had Paul Robson, the CEO of MYOB. MYOB did an analysis, and in their report, they interviewed 1,000 of their clients, MYOB clients, and they produced this report. which again, it's worth having the headlines. Dead set nightmare is what Mr. Robson said. Why small business failures are soaring. I think as a profession, we've got to do our utmost to help our clients out of this dilemma by helping them with value-adding services. And then we had Jerry Harvey, an icon of the Australian business industry, isn't he? Been operating businesses, I read the other day, 60 years in business. Started off selling vacuum cleaners, door to door. That would have been a hard life, I think. And he's ended up a billionaire. So I think he thinks he knows a bit about business. Got stores all over Australia and 8 overseas countries. And he's saying he is very worried about what's going to happen in the next 5 years. And is really saying the position in 5 years' time could be very difficult for business operators. Quite frankly, I don't think we've got any choice as accountants and bookkeepers. Under our oaths to our professional bodies, we said we would service the market. I think the market really needs assistance. They need their tax returns. There's no doubt about that, because otherwise they'll have trouble with Canberra. But they could all benefit by having more input on financial and commercial services. They're the key advisory services to help them survive and thrive. I look forward to hearing from you. Please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au. If you want any of the material we've got, Accountant's Minute, you can go onto our website and click on to subscribe to that. It won't cost you anything. You can get that. Currently, we're producing it twice a week because we're trying to promote our activities and get the message out to everyone. I don't really want to meet anyone in January. It says they've never heard of ESS BizTools. We've been around for a long time. We've done a lot of presentations with Smith Inc., Andrew Geddes, and other organisations over the years, the Oz Industry people, because I was a consultant to Oz Industry for 12 years. And I did a lot of work for them, mainly on corporate governance and those issues. And that's another story. We have material on corporate governance. We have an introduction to it in the advisory intro package. And we've got a more detailed overview in the advanced package. So that's it for me. Have a great day. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.